Well, as the 4th of July gets closer, officials are warning people to remain vigilant when using fireworks. According to U.S. Consumer Product Safety, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, 73% of firework injuries occur in the weeks before and after Independence Day. In 2022, 10,200 people had to be treated in emergency rooms for firework injuries. 11 people actually died from those injuries. Joining us now to talk more about this, Dr. Dhaval Bhavsar, a plastic surgeon and co-director of the burn unit at the University of Kansas Health System. Doctor, thank you for being here.
Thank you, and good morning, Natasha.
Well, according to data, 38% of firework injuries in 2022 were burns. You work in the burn unit. Tell me about the types of injuries and burns that you see.
So this is kind of the season for us. Most burn centers around the country can anticipate lots of injuries. On an average, we get about 30 to 40 burn injuries and blast injuries in the days before and after July 4th. Like you said, most of them are burns. For us, I think being a burn center, majority of them would be burns. They will involve hands, about 1/3 or more of it. Another 1/3 or so would involve face and neck. And then some of them would be also involving eyes. The worst of the injuries do happen from the more of the firecrackers or the more blast type of injuries where hands, fingers, or parts of other like body parts may be severely injured.
What do you think Americans don't understand about what these burns and injuries actually look like or are actually like?
So these injuries can be life-changing. This is something that I kind of got to talk about almost every year for the last 10 years or so. These can be severe. I know fireworks is part of our culture and we do enjoy it. Growing up, I've done a lot of it. But for more major, or the bigger fireworks, I think please leave it up to the professionals. And if you do have to do it, make sure you're safe, children are supervised, and do not mix in alcohol or any other kind of inebriations and fireworks.
Is there a particular incident that stands out to you as a clinician when it comes with working with these burn patients?
Yes, this is quite a few years back. Child who knew that July 4th is done and his parents had kind of stored fireworks away, but he knew where. He got to it, a light, an MAT kind of firework, and essentially almost ended up completely losing the hand in that process. This was a young child, and these are real injuries. These are, like I said, life-changing injuries.
Yeah, life-changing injuries. I appreciate you sharing that story. And you mentioned, in your experience, there is a specific type of firework that contributes to most of the injuries. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Sure. So the most common injuries that we end up seeing, I think, in a younger kind of patient group, like the children, it would be from either the Roman candle or sparklers or some of the smaller firecrackers. More older men, it will be from fireworks that's more like M80 or more kind of larger type of fireworks. But most common would be the involvement of hands and face.
So how do families safely engage in this? In about 30 seconds, is there a rundown of a plan? If families want to engage in this tradition this weekend, what can they do to do it safely?
Again, I think first be aware that this can lead to injury. That is the first thing, right? We do believe in, say, airbags in car, but we do not have similar airbag situation for fireworks. So knowing that this can lead to injury, making sure that it's done safely, there is, say, a big bucket of water close by so that if anything happens, you have something to rescue yourself or your loved one with. Making sure children are supervised. There are now, there are a group of children kind of throwing, say, sparklers at each other or throwing fireworks at each other. It's not kind of rare. I've seen it, even in my own neighborhood. So kind of making sure that kids don't get into that kind of activity and just enjoy for what they are for.
And Doctor, we're almost out of time. Very last question for you. If one does sustain a burn and obviously one has to go to the emergency room, is there anything you can do immediately to improve the prognosis once we actually do get to see you?
Yes. Cooling it with running kind of tap water or cold water. I would recommend making sure that not to use ice directly or very, very icy cold water, because that can increase some injury. But using running cold water for about 15 to 20 minutes to cool down that area will definitely decrease the chance of that burn being deeper.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Dr. Dhaval Bhavsar. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.